It's the highest ever expected goals in a Premier League tie since these records began, 7.2 compared to Newcastle's 0.59. But the most important stat is that it's 3 more points for Liverpool, who are now 3 clear of Aston Villa in second. Mario Melchiot joins us. Mario on, for once, not to discuss how rubbish Chelsea are. We'll talk to him in a moment. But Craig, overall, Liverpool were really good, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really happy if I was Jurgen Klopp. Arsenal are stuttering. Obviously, City are the ones that everybody's still talking about. But defensively, their record is good this year. They're only second to Man City in terms of goals scored. And I know Núñez is a talking point. But there's still lots of other things in his play that are good. His finishing is not one of them at the moment. But if you look at the 3 main title guys, Liverpool, Arsenal and Liverpool.
Manchester City.
Manchester City. Liverpool still have that energy about them. You know, they just can... OK, there was a couple of slack moments in this game, but they just kept pounding away and pounding away. From the get-go, the pressing, not letting Newcastle out their half... Whereas you compare that to Arsenal, West Ham and Fulham, those games, it was pedestrian. The one thing you can't say about Liverpool, they are not pedestrian.
Stevie didn't watch the game with us. He watched it in a separate room because he was going to get angry. The first thing he says to me at the final whistle, I can't believe we conceded those 2 goals.
No, it's sometimes hard when you're looking at something through a certain way and you're trying to figure out the problems, as opposed... Because I think what's good about Liverpool is so obvious.
Right.
Craig just talked about it. I mean, when was the last time we saw a Liverpool side, from the first to the last minute, closing the ball down the way they did? It was back when they won the Premier League. And so we could sit here for 10, 15 minutes talking about how they created the chances, the movement, the passing, the chemistry, the strikes at goal, the saves at Dubravka. You know, we can do all that. But unfortunately... You've got to look at the game as a whole if you're Jurgen Klopp. And I'm kind of looking at it from his point of view. He will absolutely 100% be praising everybody, particularly the midfield and the forwards, for what they did going forward. But he will for sure be having a little word to his back line about the 2 goals he lost. But yeah, it was great stuff for Liverpool.
Mo Salah, once again, sensational, Mario. How would you fancy defending him back in your time?
It's so difficult because, you know, one of all, okay, we know the scoring record. You know, what is he now on? 151, I think he is now, scoring for one club. And just to stop him, he's capable to do a lot of things in the sense of, like, if you go tight to him, he takes the space behind you. If you drop off of him, he has the maneuver to go past you or take you inside and score a goal. And now the assist that he was making, you know, outside the boot, the way he delivers the ball, I think, you know, like, especially that first goal looks amazing. I was like, wow. But also the situation playing against Newcastle. If you look at the way Newcastle turned up, they were like, 4 at the back and then 5 in the middle of the park and had only Isak up front. So they came there defensively, but the way Liverpool went right through them in the middle of the park, it was like, I was even surprised that it looked very easy at certain passes what they were delivering and cutting through them. But it's not that easy because they have energy too. The way Liverpool plays high energy, but Newcastle plays at that kind of level too. But I felt like, no, this was, as an outsider, I definitely watched Liverpool play because they really played some good football today.
I really didn't think Liverpool could get to where they are at this moment in time from where they were last year. And that's a big credit to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know City haven't been as good and Arsenal have less points than last year. But there's no doubt this is a completely different mindset from Liverpool now. The big question is, they've got 18 games left, because I think that's 20 they've played now. Can they keep it going? I don't see any reason why not. I know they're going to lose Endo, who's been pretty good last 2 or 3 games, in fact, very good. Mo Salah's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And not just the goals, but nobody, maybe only Kevin De Bruyne, plays those little disguised balls like he plays. You know, that little ball he played in for Jota. But the other side to this is Klopp's making good substitutions. You know, at 65 minutes or whatever it was 1-1, and, you know, off the bench, Gravenberch, Gakpo, but more importantly, a fit again, Diego Jota. And I think one of the differences for me is, and I don't know what the boys think, from Arsenal, who have got a big headache at the moment, is I think Liverpool have got better subs.
Yep.
I think when you see who, they can bring on the likes of Harvey Elliott, who can change games. And by the way, who would you? And we know Kai Havertz has been a big talking point. £70 million. Why wouldn't he be? I'd have Curtis Jones ahead of him.
Right.
Because he got a goal, but I'd have Curtis Jones because he makes things happen in the middle of the park. He gets on the ball. He drives forward. He's a homegrown player, and I think that's a big problem for Arsenal. And I think when you look at what Liverpool's got coming off the bench, depending on who he plays as a front three, I think Klopp has actually got more options in the forward department than what Arteta finds himself with.
Just a couple of points from the game. Why didn't Jota just stay on his feet and score?
Well, I think the ball's he's going away from goal.
Right.
He does get the clip. The highest expected goals in Premier League history. Mm-hmm. The goalkeeper standing on his head has got the cheek to come out and complain about the 2 penalties that were given against them. Seriously, they're both penalty kicks, no question, and there's no argument.
Go on, Mario, penalty for you?
Yeah. No, it was definitely a penalty. But Steve, didn't you think also, I think because the ball was a little bit ahead of him, I think he made that decision too, because I think as a goal scorer, don't you think he would tap it in?
Well, at the end of the day, it's about summing up the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jota did that. He summed the situation up.
Yeah.
You've got to balance whether I want to score the goal to, well, it's definitely a penalty kick if I go down, but I might not put it in the net. Then you take the penalty. So I
think so too.
That's part of your job as well. Whether you're the defender, we're the same with defending. Do we go to ground and make a slide tackle? And you only do that if it's definitely going to be a goal. So you've got to make decisions, and you've got to make the right one. And there's no question he made the right decision.
This is a classic case. If you go online, and I know we shouldn't look.
Shouldn't look, Craig.
You would think this is the biggest wrongdoing any team has had this season. And by the way, that is some stretch, because there has been a lot of decisions. If you looked at this decision that went Liverpool's way for Jota, you would think there was no contact at all. And I think it's a classic case where people go on these forums and they've just never ever played the game, and you don't understand when you're running at full pace, and it's not Dubravka's hands, it's when he rotates his body, it's the elbow, if you look closely enough, that comes down on the back of the Achilles or the ankle. When you're going at a speed, then it has more of an effect than people who have just freeze-framed it. And so there's really a lack of understanding, but it just breeds this conspiracy about why didn't he do this, why didn't he do that. It was a penalty kick, right? And if you looked at it closely, then Anthony Taylor got it right, VAR backed it up, but it wasn't the story of the game. This is not the story. This really was about Liverpool sending a message out saying, if we manage to click in that final third, we're going to start doing some damage to some teams in the second half of the season.
Lawrence.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, depending on the choices that the manager has if Jurgen Klopp was left with just 3 guys up front, then you have to just keep playing them.
Right.
But the fact that you have a Jota sitting on the bench who scores regularly, then you have to use that option when it's available.
Klopp talked about it after the game. He talked about the fact that what he liked about Darwin Núñez was how he occupied the 2 centre-backs with his runs, with his physicality, and it created more space for the others. Now, there's no doubt, and we've already mentioned it, when Salah goes away, then it becomes more problematic. But we only really discuss this if it dries up for the others and Liverpool start dropping points. I don't want to keep harping on about it, but we wouldn't sit here and talk about, is Zinchenko a bit of a weak point at left back when they haven't got the ball? Is Kai Havertz working in midfield? We wouldn't be discussing that if the other areas of the field were operating and Arsenal were winning, but they're not. So we're now looking at, well, they're not right in the middle of the park. There's a problem in that position, and I think only when Liverpool, if it starts to go wrong for them, and Diaz is not scoring and Jota's not scoring and Núñez is continuing to miss chances, if they're dropping points, it's going to be a big story. If they're not, Jurgen Klopp can say, well, look, he's working hard, he's running the channels, he's getting on the end of things, we're winning games, I'm okay with it.
What do you make of Núñez, Mario?
No, I like what the guys already tapped into. The downside for him is that, of course, the scoring is one of the key things. And, like Firmino, even when he was sitting in the stands watching him, when Liverpool, when we were all enjoying them, was when all 3 up front were scoring. And, of course, Diaz gets his moments, and even if one would go off. But for him now, the only thing what I do like about him is that he keeps on going. It does not matter. Like you have so many players actually that be in a situation now with him not scoring would be like on the other end and saying like you could not see him make the effort anymore. He's not producing certain things anymore. But he's now working on, if I can't score, I make sure my other teammates are scoring. And that's what he's creating. But there was one opportunity, Stevie called it, when he, got the better of Bodman, because, one of the key things which you learn in England, you never let the ball bounce. When you let it bounce, and I felt like he picked that up really quickly as a foreigner coming into that league. The ball bounced, he pushes Bodman off and gets a one-on-one with a goalkeeper. That is moments as a striker, you have to finish it. It doesn't matter. It's not like he has to be like scoring so many goals, but these are the goals that I would say to me is the other moments, he can be unlucky, but that moment, you got to finish it off.
What he can't do is do what we're doing, because I'm assuming the majority of us, when he goes through, at this moment, you don't know whether he's going to score.
Right.
If that ever creeps into his brain, then he's in trouble.
We can do without Salah.
Look, there's just no other way to say it than it's going to be difficult to get the goals that he gets. But the fact is, they've got players with ability that can produce enough goals to win games. And I don't think anybody can argue that. Now, the fact is they've got to now go and do that, but at least Klopp now has options on players who have ability, who will get into scoring positions. Unfortunately for Klopp, Salah's the one guy when he gets in a position where you know he's going to score. I don't suppose you can say that with anybody else on the front line.
Who's your front three? Sorry.
I would go with Diaz on the left. I would have Nunez up in the middle, and I'd have Jota on the right.
Right.
Yeah. I still think Nunez can come good.
I think I'd have it slightly. I think I'd have the same free ball, but I think I might have
Jota through the middle.
Jota through the middle as a sort of false nine, and I think we'll see Cody Gakpo doing that. It's not just the goals. You look at the 2 assists he had, and I mentioned it. That little. Now he doesn't. Quite often he plays these little passes and it hits somebody in the legs, but quite a lot of times it comes off. These little reverse slide balls. When he's not even in a wide position, he's actually quite close to the goal. He pokes these little balls through. I mentioned De Bruyne earlier. I don't even think he does that. He's more into playing these longer balls. I don't think anybody else in the league plays it as well and sees it as well and sees it as early as Salah. So they're going to miss that with the outside of the left foot cross into the box for the Gakpo lucky finish off the studs, and that's what Nunez needs, something like that to go his way, because that wasn't exactly a clean finish. But it's not just the goals, and it's also the threat. If you looked at Newcastle and the way they started the game, they were so worried about Alexander-Arnold and Salah that Joe Linton was they had so much space on that side because he was so deep and he was coming inside, and so that kind of takes a little bit of a threat away as well. So it's obviously going to be huge.
Let's take a look at Liverpool's upcoming schedules, those games that Salah is going to miss. Obviously, Arsenal in the FA Cup third round, that's coming up this weekend. But in the Premier League, at Bournemouth, Chelsea, Arsenal and Burnley, potentially, this is, of course, if Egypt go all the way in the tournament. Obviously, a big miss, but is it a miss that Liverpool can get over, Mario?
It's going to be a tricky one, but the only thing is that we already talked about. They have some players in the team that can answer that problem. But look, he's the main goal scorer for them. He also gets them out of jail when there are difficulties going on, and that's also one of the key things what they're going to miss. But of course, look, regardless if we talk, for example, of course, I'm going to highlight the Chelsea game, but the Arsenal game is one of the big ones too for them, because the way it's going now, they are behind you, and you don't know how Arsenal is going to react to this situation. But when they face each other, it's a huge game, and that's why, like we said already, Nunes. The thing that Klopp said about Nunes, and I agree. Like me playing as a defender, I would not want to play against a kid like that. I'm going to tell you why. Because he makes you work. He runs. He does not stop. The only thing is when we jump, of course, that's why he's playing. He has to score goals. But physically, and the runs that he makes, is almost, I look at him, I think he's not getting tired. But Szoboszlai came off in this game. And I don't know if he had a problem with his hamstring. Because that could be a big miss. because he's one of the key guys as well. I don't think this was one of his best games when I was watching him against Newcastle today. But normally, you understand, he's also the one that we're talking to outside the boot and finding players and setting people up. Oh, he's very good at it. Like, even if this is his first season, but the way he looks in that side, it looks like he's been there for so long. So that is also a question that they have. But as a team overall, I felt like they're looking like they're gelling again, and they look very, very comfortable.
Oh, you may have noticed it is the start of a new year. Perfect opportunity to bring you the best of 2023. So you would think 6'4", Shaq would be pretty good at basketball. No.
I was just playing around there.
Don's paid £1,000 to upgrade his internet.
I don't know, 2 months after the World Cup. He's on fire right now. You are telling us.
An incident that happened earlier. There it is.
And when you mention those challenges, what would you put that down to, would you say?
Oh, in this moment, it's just, I'm not sure if you played football, but these kind of things happen.
You guys are making fun of my country. Do you guys know how to skate? Because you're talking, all three of you. Do you all three know to put on the ice skate?
He's the type of guy, you'd be on the plane and he would just like pass gas, like it was so bad.
Is it a coincidence we're talking about legacies here with Benzema? And mine is passing gas.
What on earth are you wearing, Frank? Where's this from, Frank? What is it?
The Queen Stevie.
No. Stevie's got an infected finger. It's beautiful.
I'll tell you what, it's kit. Oh, it's bossed. Glasses.
Goodness me, let me tell you something.
Ready? Get ready.
Oh, look at this pass, TV. Look at it. Oh!
But see, here's the thing. I mean, I'm every single time.
You're spanking the leaves.
You'll notice it more as it goes on. And yes.
Oh, there's a fish! How do you not lift your legs?
Is that a golden horse behind you?
Yeah, it is, yeah. What's the problem?
Dora, does anybody listen to me in the house when I speak?
He was known as the Wally with the Brolly when he was in charge of England. I don't know why I bring that up as we welcome Nadem to the conversation. There's no way you did anything for this.
No.
You said to Eleanor, I need... No, exactly.
No, my daughter picked the money up and then put the bag and stuff in and put the top on.
Yeah, so you've done nothing.
And Marcus brought it in. I just went like that.
Perfect. Extra time is next.
Yeah. Can I have a wee?
Nope, you can't. Kieran. And Steve was chatting yesterday as well, open mic.
What's that?
Kieran, when he asked to go for a pee, and then yesterday he was chatting to someone during the break.
He's not quite get his timing right.
No, the fish video and then you and Shaq is fantastic. It's so good.
When I first saw Jan running around that track, with just the way we've running, just absolutely done me.
Now, do you remember a player by the name of Donny van der Beek? Currently, of course, at Manchester United. An on-loan deal was agreed today to see him go to Eintracht Frankfurt. Mario, what happened to him?
I mean, look, when you come from Ajax, you know, and like me myself, we play in a certain system, and the way we play football is that we're so used to playing. He was one of the star boys at Ajax, comes over to England, and I think sometimes when players come to Holland, they have to understand that the speed makes a hell of a difference than what we play here. Here we saw, I've repeated it before. I said tactical and technical is what we learn here. But when it comes to speed and character, it's something that you're going to find in England. And sometimes you can handle it or you can't. Okay, he comes into the team and the way he plays football is a total different system. So now he gets the injury, and that's the downside for him. And he gets the injury, then he goes to Everton, comes back to Man United, and then try to get into that team. And then later on, okay, you get like a young boy. Give an example. For Mino comes in, you understand, like the middle of the park, Fernandes, that position that Fernandes is playing is kind of what he wants to be part of. And then he was the guy that was part of the group of the Ballon d'Or. And in Holland, they were really talking big of him. But now he took that opportunity now that came along, going to Frankfurt, going to Germany. Why? Because he wants to play the Euro. He wants to play the Euro. That is the answer to his decision making. And when you're that age and you're that talented, from before you came to Man United, you want to go back to that feeling. And the only way to do that is play football, because sitting on the bench, your career is going to melt.
Well, I mean, there's only one way to sum this up, isn't it? I mean, he's not in Holland, and he might do all right in Germany. I don't know. But he has been absolutely, utterly useless since he's arrived at Man United. He's had no effect whatsoever. Not a jot of an impact that sits in the memory bank. And to not be able to affect this Man United team when they have so many bad players, and you're an afterthought in this United. It's not like he's walking in, and maybe some people say, well, it'd be easier to walk into a side with a great side. But if he walked in and didn't get a game and it was full of stars and they were all performing, I could maybe say, well, you know, that's tough. But when you come into this scenario and there are so many poor players, and yet you can't put your head up above them and say, I'm better than him, that's a problem.
How does it happen, Steve? He was so good part of that successful Ajax side.
I can only guess that somebody who was so successful at Ajax that not just recently...
Hold on, Anthony was successful at Ajax.
Yeah, no.
I mean, come on. We're talking about Ajax here.
But that Ajax side that made that great run in the Champions League, that impressed
Tottenham made the final, for God's sake. Tottenham were not exactly a great side. Tottenham beat them.
No, but still, you looked at someone like Van der Beek, you thought, wow, he's decent. And he played well in Europe against big teams.
The worrying thing with Van der Beek is that he's not even in the squad.
Yeah.
Now, that would suggest that he's given up the ghost. Because at least if you're not playing, you can work hard, you can get yourself about, and you can at least show somebody that matters that you're actually still there. And that clearly hasn't been happening. And so he's given up the ghost.
He went to Everton.
Never mind the manager.
He went to Everton and he wasn't much cop there either. I mean, maybe his level is just to go back to Holland, where, as Mario said, it's slower, it's less physical, it's whatever. Or maybe the Bundesliga. I don't know. But it's not England.
Well, he's gone to the Bundesliga, and you'll be able to see how he gets on with Eintracht Frankfurt, as, of course, it returns from the winter break. It's a little bit later than most of the leagues. January the 20th, in fact, is the first game back. Good game as well. Leipzig taking on Bayern Munich. And then the much-anticipated Van der Beek debut.
He's going to score a hat-trick.
Eintracht Frankfurt against Schalke. That game live at 9:30 on ESPN+. And then good games on Sunday. Dortmund against Augsburg and Borussia Mönchengladbach against the league leaders Bayer Leverkusen.